Welcome to the last video. This one is going to be about the director interview that you're going to conduct. So with your other child development classes, we kind of talked about how theoretical the classes are. We're talking a lot and we're learning about children. We don't often have the opportunity to actually work on them one-on-one, one-on-one. So when you took the Child Development 100 here at Palomar, we sent you out into the community to observe children, and then in other classes as well, you might have had to observe or work at our lab school. This is kind of a very similar concept in that this class is quite theoretical about management, supervision, and administration of early childhood education programs. So we want to send you out and to talk about somebody who's walking the talk, living the life. They are directors, assistant directors, or somebody in administration right now who are professionally working in that capacity at any kind of licensed child care. You're going to get the opportunity to sit down, to contact that person, and to sit down with them and ask them a couple of questions about the work that they're doing. And I'll show you on Canvas. It's going to be really individualized to who you are as well. Let me share. All right, so we're back on our Canvas shell. So when you want to know more about the interview assignment, it will look like this. Just click on it. Here is the interview assignment. So when you're ready to turn it in by October 7th, you're going to need to have done this. So you're going to turn it in here. And then I also have some guidelines for observing and visiting child development centers, just being really professional. You're not observing in the classroom. You're just going to be interviewing the director. The same type of idea of being respectful and knowing that you're kind of an ambassador for Palomar College at this point. You're a student of the Child Development Department. Dress appropriately and professionally when you're going to visit somebody, not only because you work at Palomar, but you probably want to grow your professional network. Maybe you even want to get a job or a better job in the field. So this is an opportunity actually for you to grow that network and maybe even possibly make some connections that could lead to a better job. So just knowing that in this case, it's quite professional. You want to dress and act very responsibly and respectfully. So this will give you some hints on doing that or when contacting directors as well. So really what you're going to be doing is you're going to be finding a director, assistant director, or somebody in administration who you would like to interview. So maybe you've always seen a Discovery Isle as a fantastic program. You know somebody down the street who is just killing it with their family child care home. It's just amazing. It's constantly full. Everybody talks about how fantastic it is. Maybe you'd like to go talk to somebody at the YMCA who runs one of the school-age programs and has shown themselves to be a fantastic resource for families, or who runs the summer camp program for the YMCA. Or maybe you'd like to know more about at-risk programs for children and you'd like to go interview somebody at the Monarch program down in San Diego who runs programs for homeless families' children. If you're really stumped, you can't think of anybody in your community who you'd like to, go ahead and talk to me and I could send you in a couple different possible directions. But usually I notice that in this class, you have somebody in your mind who's like a mentor that you might want to talk to, or somebody who's just doing such a fantastic job, or you've always wanted to see that Reggio school down the block, but you never really had the excuse. You didn't want to, come off as, hey, can I come see your school? And now you have the perfect opportunity to be like, hey, can I come interview you for a little bit? I'd love to hear more about your program. I'm a Palomar student, and I just think you're running an innovative program, and I'd love to kind of pick your brain and talk to you. So you just really need to find somebody who you want to contact, who's running a program, or is doing something that really speaks to you. So really all you're doing is one interview of that person. You need to call, obviously, and get prior permission to observe and to talk to them because you're going to be in their center. You don't need to observe the classroom, but you need to get approval before you go and talk to that person. Just let them know it's about 10 to 15-minute interview with the director. If it goes longer, I don't care. If you guys are just really vibing together and you're asking lots of questions that you hadn't originally thought about asking, that's totally fine. I want you to get the most out of this as possible and make it as individualized to you as possible. I do need it to be at a licensed early childhood program or an FCC program. So it can either be a family child care or it can be a licensed child care. If you were to be on base, you could go on base that's not technically licensed with community care licensing, but they are kind of they use the regulations from the Department of Defense, and that is fine. If it's not licensed, if it's kind of in that weird gray area, you can email me and we can talk about it, but typically I'm always requiring that it's licensed because this class is a lot about licensing. This class is about living, breathing, and running your best program while also dealing with the licensing requirements that we all have to do. Well, you don't need to use the real name, so you can use a confidential name for the child or any children that you might come in contact with, teachers or staff as well. So the assistant director, whoever you interview does not need to be named specifically. A lot of times people will let me know what Discovery Isle or YMCA location it is, just so that I know where you attended, but then you do not have to use their real name. It can be confidential. All right, so in the actual interview, this is the grading rubric and what I kind of expect to see. So you're going to describe and write a summary of the program. So you're going to include what type of program it is. Is it an in-home childcare? Is it infant toddler? Is it mixed age? Is it school age? Where is it located? San Marcos, Ramona, Escondido, Camp Pendleton. How many students they have enrolled, how many employees work there, and they don't need to break it down. They don't need to give me confidential information. They don't need to say, they just need to know like there's 20 full-time and 10 part-time, 3 support staff, janitors, administrative assistants, something like that. I don't need to know their names or what if they're a nonprofit, anything like that, as much as the director is willing to share. I also want you to provide information on the philosophy education. For example, is it project-based? Is it academic focus? Is it an after-school program focused on academic achievement? Is it Reggio, whatever, Waldorf, whatever kind of program it is. Philosophically, educationally, what kind of education is the program trying to provide? So in that first segment, the first paragraph, the first page of this director interview, you're going to describe the program to me. In the second, you're going to have an observation and an interview. So I'd like you to design a 10-question interview pertaining to the program you choose and also the interview the director that you chose as well. I'm not giving you the questions because it's super individualized to you. If you're an FCC provider and you're interviewing another FCC provider, ask her questions specific about your field. How do you deal with the food program? How do you have boundaries with families that you get really, really attached and form strong bonds with? If you're an after-school program and you're going to a different after-school program, then you can ask them questions specific about your field, your program, how you're running it. A lot of times people will ask questions about the day-to-day runnings, how they deal with conflicts with staff. Students will also ask questions about how they manage, ask directors questions about how they manage time and the multiple kind of balls we have to juggle as daily administrators of an early childhood program. So once again, you need to come up with questions that are pertinent to you. What do you want to know about your field? What are areas that maybe you're struggling with that you could get support from another director in? Then finally, you're going to analyze the program and the interview with the director. I want you to offer your respectful and professional thoughts on what you learned from the interview. What did you learn? What was new or innovative? What would you change? So maybe you, and this has happened, you don't agree with how they run their program. That is fine. That's why there are 101 different ways that you can run programs that are all licensing approved. So that's fine as long as you offer respectful and professional thoughts about the program and you're kind and courteous when you are analyzing the program, then that's fine. It does not have to be that you agree with every single component. I do want you to just think critically about what you learned from this interview with the director. What was interesting, what was innovative, what was new, what ideas did they offer you that you might want to implement within your own program? What ideas would you not want to implement or would be impractical? Like, once again, if you are an infant and toddler, but you know this preschool director that you've always wanted to pick her brain with, well, if she's talking about things that 4- and 5-year-olds do, that's not going to apply to an infant. But you could probably take some ideas behind it and implement. So you're really just going to analyze it and think constructively and critically about what you just heard from the director and see how it can apply to your own professional practice in as respectful and as courteous a way. This paper also includes your rubric as well. As you can see, I'm mostly concerned with the observation and interview. That's going to be the most important part, although you are going to spend at least 5 points of the paper describing the type of center that you saw. So once again, those are the written instructions. It's on Canvas, and it's going to be a great guide for you in going out and interviewing a director. Once again, you're going to choose the director that you want. By working in this field, you probably have identified somebody that you'd like to talk to. It can be your own boss. So if you're an infant and toddler teacher within a program and you would like to eventually be an assistant director or director in your own program, if it's large enough, it might be a great opportunity to go meet with the program director or somebody who's in middle management who would be willing to kind of talk to you about your program. Vice versa as well. I've let people talk to the, in a smaller organization where it was acceptable, they talked to the chief financial officer because she was very interested in running programs from a budgeting standpoint. And she emailed the CFO and asked if she could come talk to that person, and she was amenable to that. It was a smaller organization, about 40 employees. You know, if you're in a Discovery Isle, which is a nationwide program, you probably can't talk to the CFO. They're in Washington, D.C. or New York City or something like that. But in a smaller, more informal program, you might be able to talk to somebody. You might want to talk to your director first about people that are available within your chain of command who have the time to speak with you. In a YMCA situation, you probably couldn't talk to the executive director of San Diego County YMCAs, but you might be able to talk to a program director. So talking to your own boss, the first person in your chain of command, about what the opportunity to you to interview might be a really great place for you to start, especially if you're wanting to climb up the ranks within your own particular organization. So talking to your own boss would be fine as long as you're not overstepping any bounds. You can also meet with any directors that you know about in the community. You can shoot an email or call them and ask if you can have a short interview for them because you're a Palomar student in administration of early childhood education programs and you'd really like to talk to them. So it's just important that we go out into the community. We remember that we are ambassadors for the Child Development Department at Palomar, and you are just out here to learn and to develop your personal practice as best as possible. And one of the best ways to do that is by interviewing a director who's already in your field. Once again, if you have any questions or concerns, please shoot me an email. I will get right back to you so that you can get started on this director interview assignment.